excited that I made this pretty thing and then was super upset when I realized I couldn't put an exponent in my kind of my text that I was using. So vertex form is just another way that you can write quadratic functions. What you have been doing with quadratics is using the standard form normally, which is what we're kind of used to seeing. And to jog your memory, standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay. And here we're still getting the exact same information. Our vertex form parabolas will still be parabolas. They'll still make kind of this U shape that could be open up, or a U shape that could open down. So all of that stuff is the same. The only thing is that it's just in a little bit of a different order. So here, I want you to compare this equation, this example that I've given you, to the vertex form equation that I've given you over here in orange on the right. Sorry, I'm going to squeeze my A in here. That's an A. So right here, let's notice that we have a positive 2 where we see H, and we have a -1 where we see K. Okay, so what does that mean? When we're given a vertex form for a quadratic function, that means that it is super, super simple to find out what our vertex is. And it doesn't even really require any math. So our vertex in vertex form is going to be H comma K, which just means that's our X and our Y coordinates um, for the vertex, for either the maximum or the minimum. So the information that we're given here in our example is where we have H, we have a positive 2. But if you'll notice in vertex form, there's a subtraction sign or a negative right here in front of the H. That means if your equation looks like our example does here, that 2, when we're kind of finding our H, when we're figuring out what our vertex is, so that H is actually going to be a negative. So don't let that be confusing for you. Don't let it trip you up. Just know that if you're given an equation like this one, there's a positive number here inside the parentheses. When we write down our vertex, we're going to change the sign to a negative. Okay. And then our K is just going to be whatever it is. Whatever comes after is going to be our Y value, which was -1 here for this example. So if I wanted to plot my vertex, I would go left from the origin, 1, 2, it's our x value, and then down 1, -1. So the point -2, -1 is right here, and that is our vertex. All right. Now we also can find out just a little bit more information from vertex form just by looking at it. The A value, whatever number is out front in front of the parentheses, will be kind of the same traditional A value that we had in standard form. And what did the A value tell you in standard form? Well, we know that if A is positive, our parabola is going to open up. Okay, so it opens up and it will have a minimum. Okay, and the opposite's true. If A is negative, we'll have, like here, A would be negative, we would have a maximum, and it would open down. All right, so what is our A value in this? I'm going to erase all this stuff so you can kind of see a little bit better. What is our A value here in our example? Well, there's nothing there in front of the parentheses. So that just means that A is 1. But what's more important is A is a positive 1. So because A is positive, I know that my graph opens up and then I have a minimum. Okay, so I know it's going to kind of open this way, and I'm going to have a minimum. Um, if you wanted to find your y-intercept, just like we have done previously, I could take my formula, or not my formula, but my equation, and I could plug 0 in for x. And anywhere I have an x, I'll put a 0. Okay. And then you could, wherever you have an x in the vertex form, you'll plug in 0, which is kind of better here for us because we only have to plug it in one place instead of two, like when we use standard form, and then we would solve. So 0 plus 2 is 2. So we still have 2 squared minus 1. So 2 squared is 4 minus 1. So f of 0 is 3. So that means when our x value is 0, our y value is 3. And that's going to be our y-intercept. So that's how you do that. You just plug in 0 or x. So that part's a little bit more complicated, just slightly, than what we had previously been doing. So I know that my y-intercept is going to be 0, 3. I won't go left or right any because that's 0. I'll go up 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll put a little dot right there. Okay. So if I was doing this the true kind of correct way, I would spend time to figure out what my x intercepts are, my roots, my zeros, and I would draw it. But just for the sake of time here, I'm gonna just kind of draw it, trace it. This isn't exact, but it gives you a pretty good idea. Just pretend that this is the true minimum, and I drew it perfectly. So hopefully that was helpful for some of you when we're talking about vertex form to understand what's going on.